Christmas dinner in 1961 wasn't just a meal, it was an event. It's a warm, bustling, laughter-filled gathering that brought families and neighbors together. It was a time when the whole house smelled like roasting turkey, baking pies, and pine needles. The dishes served back then, for many of them have disappeared completely or changed so much that they're barely recognizable today. We're talking about food that was unapologetically rich, made from scratch, and served with a whole lot of love. Okay, so tonight, let's take a little trip back in time. We're going to step into a 1961 dining room and relive the flavors, the aromas, and the traditions that made Christmas dinner truly unforgettable. Back in 1961, Christmas dinner wasn't something you threw together after a quick trip to the supermarket. No, the preparation started days earlier. It was a carefully orchestrated affair, a ritual passed down through generations. Mothers would be up early, throwing enormous turkeys in big porcelain sinks, a task that could take a couple of days on its own. Grandmothers would be sitting at the kitchen table, flipping through recipe cards that were stained with butter and brimming with memories. You'd see kids helping out, maybe grinding fresh cranberries for a homemade relish that was both sweet and tart, a far cry from the canned jelly we often see today. There were no microwaves to speed things up, no pre-made side dishes waiting in the freezer aisle, and certainly no delivery apps to save the day if something went wrong. Every single dish was handcrafted, a testament to patience and skill. The potatoes were peeled by hand, the vegetables chopped on a sturdy wooden board, and the pie crusts rolled out with a heavy pen. And because everyone pitched in, from the youngest child to the oldest grandparent, the meal tasted like family itself. It was a collaborative effort, a shared creation. The kitchen was the heart of the home, buzzing with activity, filled with the sounds of chopping, mixing, and happy chatter. It wasn't just about feeding people. It was about creating a moment, a memory that would last a lifetime. The anticipation built with every hour, making that final meal feel like the culmination of a beautiful, collective project. Now, let's talk about the stars of the show, the main dishes. While a roast turkey is still a holiday staple, the way it was prepared in 1961 was often quite different. One of the most popular, and now quite rare, traditions was roast turkey with oyster stuffing. Yes, you heard that right, oyster stuffing. This was a coastal classic that many families across America, not just those by the sea, absolutely loved before boxed mixes took over the market. The stuffing was rich, savory, and briny, adding a complex flavor to the turkey that you just don't find anymore. The smell of it roasting would fill the entire house with a unique, delicious aroma. But turkey wasn't the only option. In fact, for many families, the centerpiece of the 1961 Christmas table was a magnificent glazed ham. This wasn't just any ham. It was a spectacle. A beautiful, golden brown ham, scored in a diamond pattern, studied meticulously with whole cloves, and adorned with bright pineapple rings held in place by maraschino cherries. It was shiny, sweet, and savory, all at once, a dish that looked almost too pretty to eat. It was a true work of art that signaled a special occasion. And then there was the standing rib roast. You might think of prime rib as a high-end restaurant luxury today, but it was far more common on the Christmas table back then. Meat, in general, was more affordable relative to incomes, so a prime rib roast was unseen as an extravagant splurge, but as a cherished Christmas tradition for many middle-class families. These main dishes weren't rushed. They were roasted slowly for hours, basting in their own juices, filling homes with a kind of warmth and comfort that you could never bottle. It was a slow, deliberate process that honored the food and the occasion. Of course, the main course is nothing without its supporting cast, and the side dishes of 1961 were just as memorable, though many have now faded into obscurity. Have you ever heard of postum rolls? These were sweet, buttery dinner rolls made with postum, a roasted grain beverage that was a popular coffee substitute. They had a unique, malty flavor and were a staple on many holiday tables, but they're completely gone today. Another forgotten classic was creamed onions. Small pearl onions, peeled and cooked until tender, then bathed in a rich, creamy bechamel sauce. It was a simple, elegant dish that was considered an essential part of the holiday feast. And you can't talk about mid-century food without mentioning ambrosia salad. This was pure 1960s magic in a bowl, a mix of canned mandarin oranges, pineapple chunks, miniature marshmallows, coconut flakes, and cherries, all folded into whipped cream or sour cream. It was sweet, it was fluffy, it was a little bit kitschy, and kids absolutely loved it. Then there were the Jell-O mold centerpieces. Bright, wiggly, and often layered with different colors and fruits. These gelatin creations were as much a decoration as they were a dish. They were a vibrant, shimmering testament to the era's culinary trends. And what about sweet potato casserole? Well, for many families in 1961, the marshmallow topping we think of as standard came later. Back then, it was often a simpler, more savory-leaning dish, baked with butter, brown sugar, and warm spices like cinnamon and nutmeg. Each of these side dishes was unique, and every family had their own special version of the recipe. The table was a beautiful mosaic of flavors and textures, a true reflection of the family's personality and history. After the main feast, it was time for the grand finale, dessert. And the desserts of 1961 feel like pure time travel. First up, mincemeat pie. This was once a cornerstone of Christmas baking, found in nearly every home. Made with a rich, spiced mixture of chopped dried fruit, and often a splash of brandy. It was dark, complex, and deeply traditional. Today, it's almost extinct, a flavor many people have never even experienced. Then there was ribbon candy, those beautiful, glossy, colorful strips of hard candy, carefully folded into waves. Every kid loved it, even though it was so sharp it could sometimes cut your tongue if you weren't careful. Was a Christmas candy dish essential? Another classic was date nut loaf. This was a dense, moist, and sticky quick bread, packed with dates and walnuts. It wasn't overly sweet and was often served in thin slices, sometimes with a little cream cheese, alongside a cup of hot black coffee for the adults. It was a simple, comforting end to a big meal. And finally, let's talk about fruitcake. But I mean real, homemade fruitcake. Not the dense, dry, neon-colored brick we often see in stores today. This was a labor of love. It was made weeks, sometimes months, before Christmas, packed with quality, dried and candied fruits, nuts, and soaked in rum or brandy. It was then carefully wrapped in cheesecloth and wax paper and left to age, allowing the flavors to meld and deepen. Desserts in 1961 weren't just an afterthought. They were an art form, a final, beautiful expression of holiday spirit. But beyond the food, what really defined a 1961 Christmas dinner was the feeling, the atmosphere around the table. It wasn't about having perfectly matching plates or expensive store-bought decorations. It was about something much more genuine. The table was likely covered with a delicate lace tablecloth, one that your mother probably only used once a year for this very occasion. The good china, kept in the highest cabinet all year, was carefully brought down and set. A tier were probably red or green tapered candles in simple holders, dripping wax onto little paper doilies. If the family was large, the kids were often seated at their own little card table in the corner, a wobbly, makeshift extension of the main event. It was their own little world of whispers and giggles. The adults at the main table would be sharing stories and laughing, maybe telling jokes that the kids weren't supposed to hear but listened to anyway. And then there was that quiet moment, just before the chaos of serving began. A prayer might be said, a moment of thanks and reflection. When everyone finally grabbed the plate and the serving dishes started being passed around, it felt like the whole world was at peace just for that moment. This wasn't just dinner. It was a feeling of connection, of warmth, of belonging. And maybe that's the part we miss most of all. Today, Many of these dishes have vanished from our tables. Some have changed so much, they're almost unrecognizable. Some we barely even remember. But the feeling, that warm, glowing, mid-century Christmas magic hits, still alive. It lives on in our memories, in the stories we pass down, and in the traditions we choose to keep. Because Christmas dinner in 1961, or in any year, wasn't ultimately defined by the food that was served. It was defined by the love that was shared around the table. Thank you for taking this trip back in time with me. What are some of your family's forgotten holiday dishes? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.